Hi everyone, it's Shine Central Coast. Welcome back, and our next guest is Lindy, Lindy Leggett, and she's a local I've met. We met, I think, through preschool. And what a meeting that was. We've got similar age children, and she saw me. I think the story was I was in my gym gear, and she's like, so where do you go for gym? And that story was just remarkable in the beginning of our friendship, and I've just been blown away by Lindy and what she does, and I think we really connect because she is such a community member who believes in a solid, clear vision for people here, and we're going to explore that vision very soon. And I want to get back to your childhood and your history, and how did Lindy form from those childhood?
Oh wow, all the way back there.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's not a Central Coast born here.
No.
She's from where's your hometown?
From Harare in Zimbabwe. So I'm an African through and through. I spent the first 10 years of my life in Rhodesia, which then became Zimbabwe. So I have lived through interesting times, very much unsimilar to what we're going through at the moment because it was very real. There were men with guns and wars and helicopters and airplanes and stories that I remember very clearly, which to some degree might have shaped my life. I think they have. Just having gone through some of that stuff certainly helped me, I think, just become more aware and more open-minded. And anyway, long story short, we moved to South Africa. I was bitten by the travel bug at a very young age. I blame my parents entirely for that. Both of them travelled when they were youngsters, and so I followed in their footsteps and left home at 19 and with a backpack and a friend, and ended up in Europe for a little while, and then in London, and ended up working and living in London for 15 years. In that time I met my husband. He's Australian, that's how we ended up here. We met in Hawaii, as you do. We were both on an Anthony Robbins seminar, which probably many people who listen to this who know anything about Tony Robbins will go, I get it. Already, I get it. If you don't know who he is, he's a big American guy. He's very, very much of a change manager and has changed the lives of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people in his lifetime, which is quite something, really.
How has he changed your life? Because I know that when I first met you, you talked a lot about Anthony Robbins. Like, who's this dude? He's a real big American man, very loud, but very inspirational.
Very inspirational.
Yeah, he really gets you off your butt.
Yeah, so I was in computer programming for a few years in corporate world, and I decided, after I travelled a lot through Africa, I overlanded through Africa, I decided I wanted to get out of programming and into training. And my girlfriend had just done her neuro-linguistic programming qualification and told me about it, and was just blown away by NLP, and I was blown away by her being blown away by it. Actually, more the point, she actually walked on fire without burning her feet, and that was it.
Did you sure you didn't burn them?
That was it. I was solid. Like, if she can do this, I can do this. And I've always believed in the mind. I've always believed in the power of the mind. I've always known that since I've been little, I remember when we were in school, girlfriends and myself, we had gone out to dinner, and someone said, if 4 of us hold this person with 2 fingers each, or both hands, and we lift them up just with 4 fingers, we'd be able to do it.
And you doubted?
Totally doubted. And boy, it was heavy.
Yeah.
As soon as I believed, something happened. Straight up, and that was it. That was my first experience of the power of the mind. And that was, I must have been about 12, 13 or 12, very, very young, and never ever forgot that. So that was the start. It was a profound start. And then when Charlotte said to me, she's walked on fire, you've got to do this course, it's applied psychology. Applied psychology. I don't have to go to university, thank God, because long-term degrees just never appealed to me. I'm pretty impatient in that regard. So when I started doing NLP, it was incredible. It helped me to move out of corporate computer programming, which was a godsend really, because I found I was much better at programming minds than I was at programming computers, and loved training and did very well in it. And so I've worked for the biggest blue chip companies, British Airways, Cisco Systems, Nike, Microsoft.
I don't know that song.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was very cool, but there was always a calling to help people, not in systems, not in corporate world necessarily, but about the mind. Like it can be so much more. It's customer relationship management and Salesforce and the systems that I was teaching them on helped the business to thrive, but didn't help them necessarily. It didn't help them to grow as individuals, and that was always something that called me back. And another good friend of mine had started worked for a company called Positively Mad, which is a fabulous name. And the MAD stands for Making a Difference. And so Michael said to me, I was at a time where I was in and out of corporate world, and he said, why don't you come and help me and teach kids? I'm like, what? I'm not a teacher, kids. And he goes, oh, you'd love it. Just come and watch. So I went along, and it was so much fun. I jumped straight in, started teaching kids, accelerated learning skills. So it wasn't school stuff, it was about how to learn as individuals. So we're all very different, we all learn in different ways, but not taught that at school. So I jumped into Positively Mad and did that for a year or so. And then we moved countries, we moved over to Seattle. My husband was transferred by Microsoft over there, and that was an opportunity not to be missed. So we went over and set up in Seattle, lived there for 3 years, had my first child, had lots of fun in America, and moved to Australia.
So
cousin's American, yes. He has a couple of passports. He is our James Bond.
I love it. Very
Yeah, he is. And he actually went to a fancy dress at school once as James Blonde. Not blonde, he's blonde because he's so blonde. So that's how we ended up in Australia, and how I ended up in doing what I'm doing. Well, personal development had a lot to do with that. So I've always kept pushing, kept asking bigger questions, kept going on and growing myself, learning and developing, and then having children as well helps, because you then have to give back to them what I chose to give back to them, and wanted them to be asking big questions of themselves and of the world, and question everything.
Well, when I met you, I think, it might have been before you started, you were Wow Kids.
Yes.
And I just loved that side of it, the power of the mind, teaching children, because it's not part of curriculum, it's kind of teaching. And can you give us, I love some structures of how you can do skills of memory,
Yes.
to remember things.
Absolutely. So this was really, Wow Kids started because there was nothing like Positively Mad in Australia. So I used the Positively Mad stuff with a few tweaks of my own and produced Wow Kids, and with the intention, of course, for it to go big. And sadly, even with a lot of knocking on doors and banging on school windows and come on, let me in.
We were pretty active in that.
We got holiday programs going, but it was very sparse. And ideally, it would have been better to have a whole school go through the program, so that the teachers saw the kids go through a couple of hours, and we'd set goals for the kids. If you remember, we'd say right at the beginning, if you can remember 50 things within the next 2 hours, just 50 random things.
That's for me, 50.
Well, these are primary school kids, right? And if you can remember this much information in the next 2 hours, it'll prove scientifically you're a genius. So the challenge is on, right? We love challenge, and off we went. And it was through a process of stories, of colour, of involving the kids in visualising big things that are colourful, that are crazy, that they remember. They would just be able to remember all the facts and all the detail around it all. We teach mind maps and a journey process, a journey through a room or a journey in space and time. So instead of cramming into the brain, we use the whole room or the whole hall.
Yeah, it's like a story. You're incorporating those 50 things into a story. Yeah,
that's right. So when they walk back into that particular room, they would see the ostrich on the cupboard that was purple, and remember that was where Austria was.
Yeah.
And anyone else would think we were loons, but they remembered it was Austria, and they had all these different things around, and it blew them away. They could remember so much information. Because we always reached 100 or more, and that was like, for these little people. So Wow Kids didn't rock as much as I wanted it to. I had also got into scuba diving again because I love diving, always have, been a water baby all my life, and I got a job. I became an instructor here. I was quite qualified before I.
How did you get into the scuba diving? You know, was that back in your homeland, South Africa?
No, that was after I overlanded. One of my friends on the big truck. So we went through Africa all the way through 23 countries with 26 strangers. It was great fun. Changed my life again. And one of the guys on the truck said, "Oh, you can scuba dive now. It's become possible." So Paddy was established and the scuba training agencies. And I'd always wanted to, but it was something that was always a Navy SEAL kind of. You had to have a lot of money, or you had to be in the Navy, or become a SEAL or something like that. It was never achievable. Paddy hadn't marketed well at that point, and then suddenly it became well known, and I jumped at it. And it was strange because as soon as I got back to London and started doing my scuba, my friends who I'd left in London, who I returned to, they did the same thing. We all kind of went. Independently, we all kind of found scuba, and then our holidays as a group were all scuba. So we go to Egypt, and we'd seen the pyramids, we'd done them already.
What's a really cool experience scuba diving? Tell us the story.
So in Egypt, there's an amazing wreck called the Thistle Bomb, which I still teach my students. Thistle Bomb. So the Thistle Bomb was a cargo ship in the Second World War, and it was a British ship going on its journey, and going down the Suez Canal, and this German bomber was flying home with one bomb left, and he had to get rid of it. So he dropped it on the Thistle Bomb. No one was hurt. Everyone survived. Wow. It ripped the boat in half, and it's a wreck now at the bottom of the Red Sea, and it's about 35 meters. There were two train water tankers on either side of it that are still there. And they were solid metal, so this is the reason I included in my presentations when I'm teaching open water, is because they were empty water tankers that, because they've dropped down, have imploded. Right? With the pressure.
So
absolutely. So you have to breathe more at 30 meters than you do at 10. Perfect example. But the most exciting part about the Thistle Bomb is when you penetrate, when you get down to the bottom and you move your way up through the boat, through the ship. There are BSA motorbikes, the ones with the curly handlebars.
So you can get on, pretend to have your ride down.
Yeah, I don't think they let you get on anymore because everyone has. Because we used to do it, everyone used to get on it, and now it's worn out. But you can still see the handlebars, you can still see the big seats, the jeeps that are all stacked up.
Wow.
There's ammunition, there was, spewed all over the place, and the numpties who pick it up don't come back home. But it's just such an amazing wreck. So beautiful. And then there's the Manta Rays in the Maldives. We had a lot of fun with Manta Rays as well. And the Belize is a beautiful blue hole, coral, exactly circular blue hole. When you look at it from above, if you were in a drone, it's just a hole of coral. That's massive, and it just drops.
How deep?
We don't know.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I did my scuba diving refresher with you.
Yes.
Last year.
No. It was the year before, wasn't it? I'm sure it was.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so that was really good to get back into scuba. And the reason why I was really keen to do that was because Lindy has an incredible program on the Central Coast called Scuba Gym Australia. And I would love you to explain to everyone what that is, because I think that is exceptionally incredible to have here on the coast.
Okay, so passion for scuba comes through, passion for helping people comes through. So combining the two, I was at a point in my life, a bit of a crossroads, where I was doing a lot of personal development training, leadership training, really out there, pushing people way out of their comfort zones. It was very, very intense.
You're good at that.
Thank you.
She puts me on my
It's okay, you're right. It was incredibly empowering for the people on the course. It was just taking a long time for me to qualify to take on the role as the only Australian trainer. And I was at the time, but I was going through the learning process.
How did you cotton on to scuba? Because it was through an American contact.
Yeah, so
that's how you've brought it out here.
Yes. So the scuba gym started over 11 years ago in America, in Florida. It started because a gentleman named David Lawrence, his son, who at the time, when he was 11 years old, David Jr., he was rushed into hospital because he had a life-threatening brain tumor right on the brain stem, right in the center. And he had to have a cutout, it was life-threatening. And when he came out of the operation, he was a healthy 11-year-old, played American football. He came out quadriplegic.
I suppose that was...
Can't move from the neck down.
Yeah.
That was devastating for the entire family.
Worst case scenario.
his parents were shocked. His dad was on a mission to help him to be whole again. Incredible. And burned through the savings, did every kind of rehab they could put their hands on. He knew about hyperbaric oxygen treatment, which, if for people who don't know what that is, it's in Sydney. There's a couple of hyperbaric chambers, and they put people in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber if they have dived and they've come up and they've not had spent enough time equalizing and letting the nitrogen out of the system. So it oxygenates the blood in a pressurized environment, but it's a tank, so you basically are lying still, dead still. And professional sportsmen and women use them. It oxygenates the blood, it's really good for you. Burn victims will go to the chambers, and it's really good for them as well. So there's a number of uses for it. And David Senior, he knew about hyperbaric treatment, and he knew the benefits, and he explored it a bit more and a bit more. It's frightfully expensive in any country, always has been, for treatment. So, which he burned through his money, so he didn't have that, but he was a scuba diver. And he knew underwater is a hyperbaric environment. So he took a chance. He looked thinking outside of the box, took a chance, took his son underwater. So imagine this, a guy who can't walk, move his arms or legs, his father then drags him into the pool and puts scuba gear on him and gets him to work and gets him moving. And his son's body reacted and responded. Wow. And long story short, David Jr. walks now. From being an incomplete quad, he now walks. He drives a car. He's done a PhD. He's just had one of his papers approved. It's incredible, young man. He's grown into.
How old was he?
He was 11.
Wow.
Yeah, my son's 12. I would just be horrendous. Oh.
You would do anything.
You'd do anything, and he did.
So how old's David Jr.?
23.
So young, still the world
and so very humble and such a beautiful soul. So I got the chance to meet him last year in March. So I was at this crossroads, putting it out there. I need to do something. This leadership training is great, but it's just not happening. Like I've got to make more of a difference. It's just not happening. And I saw the video that magically put it out there, and the universe goes, okay, look. And it was on social media, random chance. I see this video of the scuba gym. Immediately grabs my attention. I watched it over and over and over again, and I just knew I had to do this, because if I don't, somebody else in Australia will see it and they'll do it. And so I grabbed the bull by the horn, so to speak, and I messaged David and rang him, and he was blown away that someone in Australia had seen this video, number one, and number two, had reached out and said, how do we do this in Australia?
And no one else had done that.
No one else had done that.
Okay.
No one. How mad is that, right? So so that's how it all began. And then he came out. He said, "Come over here, and you fly out." And I just couldn't. We financially just were in a position not to be able to make that happen. So he said, "Okay, I'll come to you." So he flew himself and his daughter and a whole lot of gear out at his own cost. Incredible, so generous, such an amazing man. So blessed to have bonded with him and be able to help him in return do the best I can for people. So what we do is we take people with any disability, we take them underwater on scuba gear, and we exercise them. And if they present, their diagnosis they present is physical, then it's a very physical workout. And if it's more of a cognitive thing, then it's more so autism and Down syndrome will have games that we'll play that's more cognitive therapy rather than a physical therapy. And the results are nothing short of magical. And when I say magical, I honestly don't mean unicorns and fairies and rainbows. I absolutely mean magical. Like, if there is magic on the planet, I promise you it's in the water. Because we have Nathan, Sue's brother-in-law, who has an acquired brain injury. And after doing scuba therapy for a number of weeks, his tremors stopped and his handwriting changed like that.
Yeah, to normal, like he'd never written clear before. It was just always messy.
Like a kid, all over the place. But then
my mother-in-law, Jo, couldn't believe his handwriting. She was like, oh my gosh, he's actually right. She's never seen him right like that ever.
So it's magic, right? But we didn't know that would happen. No one does.
No.
The nervous system is so complex. No one knows what's really happening. We have Megan is also such an incredible woman, so inspiring. She has multiple sclerosis and a lesion on her spine up at the top here, which means that she's now an incomplete quadriplegic. So the MS is caused the lesion, which means, so her movement is just her left hand at this point is all that moves, and it's a tiny bit. So it's getting better and better with all the scuba gym. But when she first arrived, it was just, she could just type a number on her phone. And that's really it. So underwater, we've now got her to be able to put her hands up a hockey puck, a hockey stick, like that. And it takes a lot of concentration, a lot of focus, but she's getting there, right?
Yeah.
The other day, she was moving a squashy ball from one hand to the other, and this hand, the right hand, hardly moves very much at all. Like, it's not frozen; it just doesn't move. Like the left one has got more movement. And she managed to get the ball across, and then the ball, because it's a squishy ball, it floats. She let it go, and it went up against her body, and instantly she caught it.
Wow.
Right?
Power of the mind. As
something.
I don't know.
There's some magic. There's magic in the water. Love jumping behind the camera going, holy shit.
Yeah.
Did you see
and
that?
they're always celebrating. Like, after you put up these beautiful posts and film, and everyone can witness this. And it's just so beautiful how you celebrate each person's accomplishments. You know, for them, it's huge.
It's massive.
A little movement. For us.
Well, for Megan, her cat jumped on her lap about a year ago, and she patted it without thinking. She's going, oh, get the camera. You've got to share this with Lindy, get the camera. Because she hadn't done it for 3 years. She wasn't able to move that hand and pat the cat for 3 years until she started doing scuba gym. So I absolutely love what I do.
Where do you do it? So where can people find you, and where are you based right now?
So the scubagym.com.au, all one word, the scuba gym, is where we are online, and physically we are at the Woi Woi PLC, the Peninsula Leisure Centre. We will also be going to Wyong to use the Wyong Outdoor Olympic Pool. When it warms up, it's not heated, so I can't put my clients in a cold pool. It's just not cool, and it's not nice for us either. So we
are in there for quite a few hours. Yeah.
So we will be back in Wyong hopefully around December, January time when it's warmed up. And we are working with companies who want to, the great thing about, the bad thing is we've had COVID, but the good thing is we've had COVID because people are now going, you know what, life's too short. Let's get out there and do something new and exciting. And so a travel company rang me today and said, can we feature you guys and you feature us? So the fact that people are looking outside of the box again is very exciting, because unless you've seen some of the people who come in and benefit, and Nathan being related to you, it's just incredible.
And just the experience too, something that they wouldn't be able to do necessarily without you, you know, to be able to dream and be able to go underwater with some scuba gear and go underwater and just experience that.
Well, for many people,
another experience for them.
For many people who come to us, scuba in itself, as you say, is incredible, because the majority of the population are terrified of diving. The majority are, which is really sad, because it is an incredible place. But what we find is the people who come to us who are in a wheelchair most days, all days, for them they get to stand.
I know, that freedom just being out.
Their spine stretches. Suddenly they're seeing their legs walking.
And weightless.
They're weightless.
Just having that feeling.
And they're moving forward without rolling or driving. That in itself is incredibly powerful for them. And that's the part that we really don't know what's going on, but we do know, because we have powerful minds, that there's all sorts of magic happening. So it's very exciting. I love what I do, and we'd love more people to join us underwater. Yeah,
you always call out, because a lot of the team, you've got such a wonderful team, very passionate people that have the same vision. So what is your bigger vision for the Central Coast, or where scuba gym can fit into that vision for the Central Coast?
Well, the scuba gym in itself wouldn't exist without my team. They are an incredible bunch of people who make it all possible for everyone else. And what's happening here on the Central Coast, in the scuba gym in particular, is we are going back to that tribal way of living, where the tribe helps each other, the tribe brings up each other's children, the tribe help, and they're there to support each other. And that's what it's come back to, which is really what the world needs right now, is to find that, and to that calling to have people who are qualified divers just say, hey, I've got a Monday or a Thursday free, I'd love to come and help. Because all of my team are volunteers. So all of them get something out of it just by giving back.
Yeah.
They're not there for the money. They're there to help, and it's an incredibly.
It's a selfless act because they're not even there for themselves. They're there for
Yeah.
other people.
It is selfless, and it's an incredible environment. I would imagine if I was somebody coming for that treatment to go into, because all these people are there to help you. They're not being paid. We want to do it for you guys.
Yeah.
So from the coast point of view, I'd love to grow. I need a deep pool. Like a wild pool would be awesome. If it was heated, we would use it year round. So I've been working with ministers, 4 different ministers have seen my business case to build a pool that's deep, that's up to 4 meters deep, that we can use, that the whole community can use, that becomes a center for healing and for healthiness and growth and just vitality. And I would love any help in that regard, because we've been through all sorts of diversions on this journey, as anyone can imagine. Asking the government for land and then to build a pool is quite an ask. But the big picture is so many people, and 1 in 5 people is diagnosed with a disability in Australia. 1 in 5. Yeah. That's 1 in 5. And it's not getting any better. Autistic rates are increasing. That's a whole conversation for another time. But they're not, yeah.
That's a big one. Because you've got autistic.
Yes, we have. So we run a scuba camp. We have autistic clients who come weekly, and they love it because it's quiet.
Yeah.
They're escaped from the noise, and they're just in their own world, and they always come up smiling, and they have such a good time. And we also run scuba camps. So you've helped with scuba camps before, and they're great fun for people with Down syndrome or autism or an acquired brain injury of sorts. They just spend that whole day with us, and we race emus across the pool, and we have treasure hunts and snorkeling, hide and seek stuff, and finding marbles in a 50-meter pool is cruel but fun.
And for me, I love that experience because I don't get to meet people of that diversity, and to be able to mix and play and to just have fun together is another experience that you don't get. And
then we end off by doing some fun arts and crafts in the afternoon with my dear friend Lauren.
Oh yes,
who's very creative and makes amazing stuff. But they make the amazing stuff. She just facilitates that in her way, which is fabulous. So it's an amazing day. We'd love to run more scuba camps as well. It's all about making sure we're all helping each other. So we'd love more people who are qualified who hear this and want to help. Jump in the water and come help us. Everyone knows someone who's disabled. Share the love.
Well, got one question, if I can fit it in, is what does the Central Coast mean to you?
So I've lived in, that's a great question. I have lived in over 4 continents, several different countries, about 23 houses I've moved, which is ridiculous in itself. And it's only since living on the Central Coast that I have found my roots again, from leaving home when I was 19 and all these different places I've lived in all these different countries. I feel like the Central Coast is where I belong now. And so I want to give back. I want to make sure that this is where we make a difference. Let this be the hub for the scuba gym. People come to the coast because this is where the scuba gym is, and this is where they can get their healing, their help, and then we'll take it out to the rest of Australia. But certainly this is, I love the coast. It's a beautiful part of the world. We wake up in paradise every day. Just don't tell too many people.
I watch myself every morning. Don't tell too many people.
No, don't tell too many more.
Well, I want to really thank you. That was an incredible conversation today, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And I really would recommend you contact Lindy if there's something there that really relates and resonates with you, because she's an extraordinary woman who I love dearly, and I'm so blessed to have her.
Don't make me cry.
But yeah, really.
Thanks for the interview. Thanks for sharing my
story.
story.
And we've got you on Shine. You're a shiner now.
I'm shining. Yay! Not the shining bit.
But we'll put details underneath. So if you want to contact her or know more about Scuba Gym Australia, please get in contact with Lindy.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to be in your company.
Thank you.
Yay. Bye.